Welcome to Veterans Air, the Veterans Hour. I am your host, Douglas B., and you can listen to us live the first Tuesday of every month at 1 p.m. here on your Lone Star Community Radio station. We're also going out on Facebook Live. We're on your local TV station, Channel 12 and Suddenlink. You can listen to this show or past shows at veteransair.us, at the Lone Star Community Radio's website, or wherever you get your fine podcasts. First and foremost, what did I do? I forgot my how to contact us. You can contact us through email at info@veteransair.us, or better yet, you can text us on our Google phone in studio at 936-344-3083. Got a big show. This is Halfass Preppers, Take 2. And with me in the studio, I have Lucinda Bailey. She is the seed lady, and she is going to talk to us today about sustainable gardening. Before we get there, I have to say, happy birthday, America. I hope you all were following my posts during this long 4th of July weekend, and I hope that you all didn't do like I did and do too much work outside and now are paying for it the next day with dehydration. So excuse me while I take a drink. Lucinda, welcome to the show.
It is a privilege.
Tell us a little about yourself.
Well, right now I'm a co-owner of a seed company that sells only heirloom seeds so that any American that wants to reduce their food bill and begin that journey of self-sustainability is able to do it.
Why do they call you the seed lady?
Because I've really focused my agronomy education and training on everything that it takes to identify good seeds, work with good seeds, and then save good seeds so that you can rinse and repeat and be completely taking care of your family if you needed to be. And apparently, the way the economy is going, we're all going to have to be food producers.
I got to tell you the story. So I've gotten into half-ass prepping, if you will. And on one of the previous shows, I did how to store dry goods properly in the Mylar bags.
Yes.
And we have started to get into canning. Now, my loving wife, she backs me up on my half-ass prepping, things I say that we need for when the zombie apocalypse comes. Yes, the zombie apocalypse will come, followed directly after the Cylon upbringing, which will be led by the ATMs. That's my theory. But I got her to help me out with this prepping by canning. And now that she started canning, she spent all weekend long canning tomatoes and butternut squashes.
Fabulous.
And she can feel the sense of accomplishment at the end of the day. Even more so when the little jars go pop and seal up. The idea of gardening, of using heirloom seeds, rinse and repeat, as you say, is part and parcel of being prepared, whether that be for the zombie apocalypse, whether that be for food shortages, or whether that be you fall on hard times. Mm-hmm. It's just prudent to have something set aside. Now, here in this area, some of us are not land blessed. I mean, some of us don't have properties that they can go to and do this big garden. But you guys at Texas Ready have come up with how to do this in your backyard with HMO, homeowners associations. Please forgive me. Now, guys, I got to let you know that I took their class on the 25th, all day long. Fabulous class. They covered in that class I'm going to mispronounce this, aren't I? Mittelalter.
Mittelalter. It's a German.
It's German. The Mittelalter gardening course of how to do this. It lays out everything that you need to do. And not only that, we learned about seeds and how to store them, and more importantly, how to germinate them. Now, you're the seed lady, so you sell seeds.
Yeah, we do.
I learned something that I did not know in your course.
And what was that?
How to properly store seeds.
Oh, yes. There's a lot of mythology on the internet.
My wife went out and said, you know what? I'm going to help out my hubby. I'm going to buy him a seed vault with non-GMO heirloom seeds in there.
Beautiful.
And the first year that I planted stuff out, they germinated.
Good.
This year, when I went to go do it, I planted all of the stuff. And do you know how many germinations I got?
I do not know.
0.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So, talk to me about
Well,
how to
time
save
is one of the
seeds.
things that decreases germination. Heat will decrease it. UV rays will decrease it. Excessive moisture will decrease it. There are a number of factors, but time is an enemy of great germination. So that probably played some part in the decreased germination from garden number 1 to attempted garden number 2.
How long do seeds last if they're properly stored?
The U.S. Department of Agriculture has given us that answer. I actually went up to the Fort Collins National Seed Saving Lab to study that very question out because it is so critical. And they're telling me 4 to 6 years. And I was very glad because that's exactly what Kurt and I have been saying. Otherwise, we would have had a lot of apology, letters and enclosures of excess seeds to give to the people. But 4 to 6 years. And that's if they're stored at the 40-degree mark, which is the ideal temperature range for a collection of seeds. Now, it is true that corn, peas, bean, hard-shelled seeds can do just fine in a freezer. However, most of the seeds in this 75 variety seed pack that we provide for people are the fragile things like lettuces, herbs, and things like that. And you cannot get all of the moisture out of the hull as you're saving your seed. So you're left with maybe 9 to 12% of moisture. Now you throw that into the freezer, and then water being what it does, it expands. Now you've cracked and decreased your germination because you've cracked the hull on your fragile seeds. So it's just better to put the whole lot in that cranky refrigerator, the one for beer and parties that's in the garage. That is the perfect one.
I just got one. 2-3 years ago, I had a flood at the house, so it all had to be tore out. And then last year during the freeze, destroyed the kitchen, and I had to get all new appliances, the whole 9 yards. But my handyman was able to resurrect that refrigerator, and I now feel like I'm a Texan because I have it sitting in my garage.
That is perfect. Okay, so 40 degrees is ideal temp, not the freezing that internet will tell you.
I believe that the seeds not germinating were totally my fault because I was doing it wrong. They'd been sitting in my gardening box in the non-climate controlled garage for like 3, maybe 4 years.
Yeah, so heat was an enemy, along with time.
Then I took them and I put them in my egg carton cultivation, and I did that outside.
Oh, so they got too much sun maybe, huh?
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Yeah. So if you're listening to the show, and of course, why wouldn't you? And you're purchasing these seeds, if you don't use them all, you need to take that into consideration. They need to be stored in the refrigerator. You had mentioned something about, and you guys can see these, we got ammo boxes full of stuff. And inside of those stuff, there's seeds. Talk to us about these.
All right. Well, one of the things that's very
First of all, what do you call these?
Oh, these are seed banks. Right. Ammo cans, repurposed, beautiful, right? Genuine.
It works for us.
It's just perfect. And there's a seal around the edge, so you couldn't get a better environment. It protects against any kind of vermin, mice, rats, raccoons. They're never going to be able to open this ammo can. But what we've done is got a clear package so that when you open, you're being able to check the condition of your seeds. You pull it out, and one of the big jokes is you go to Lowe's, Home Depot, whatever, and buy some seed packets, and virtually the back tells you how to grow it, but it's rinse and repeat. It's so illogical to me. Put it in the sun, make sure it's covered with a ½ inch of dirt, make sure it has plenty of moisture, voila, in 65 days you'll have a bean crop or whatever. Now you move on to broccoli. It really could be the same directions. We don't think that makes much sense. And a lot of us did not take very good notes at the knee of our grandmothers, and so we really need some pictures and some amplification of the habit of that bean or broccoli or whatever. So we tell you right on our identifying card what pages in a basic garden manual you'll need to study. Now let's suppose it was beans. You're going to get 6 pages on pole beans with tons of pictures. So that sure beats the 3 sentences on the back of the paper, seed packets. And then we also identify where in the book Seed to Seed, which you've already referred to, you would study up on proper seed saving techniques at the end of the harvest. So you've got your how to grow it page numbers, and you've got your coding right into the seed saving manual on the seed packets. So that's something that we've done to make it fairly easy for people growing and saving seed for the first time.
Now, I heard this rumor, and I don't know how true it is, that when you go to harvest, there's harvest that you're going to eat, and then there's harvest for the seeds, and they're not the same time.
That is true. The first fruits always produce the greatest seed. So a good farmer is going to have planned, and in some cases it requires 40 plants. Mustard, for example, it requires 40 plants so that you don't get inbred depression. So instead of eating, inbred depression is kind of like the mixing, the lack of mixture in a gene pool. Think of the kissing cousins of England, and you've kind of got, the drift. That can happen in the garden, and inbred depression means you simply don't have enough genetic material so that the next gardens will be strong, so the seeds become quite weak if they don't have enough variety within that breed to do well. So the Seed to Seed book tells us that we need 40 mustard plants in order to make good, strong seeds, to have plenty of genetic material. So you're going to take that into consideration. Now, we do have a chart in each of our boxes that will tell you how many inches away you would need to plant that mustard. And it's a very detailed chart. There's many categories, but space and depth, and when do you plant, how many days to harvest, how big that plant's going to ultimately get. These are just some of the things that are on that chart.
I did not know that you could eat bean leaves.
Oh, yes. We also have a column that teaches Americans how to extend their harvest. And so, right, you're not going to have a whole salad of bean leaves, I promise. But you can take one bean leaf, one pea plant leaf, etc., per week, and then add that to the greenery that your family would be eating. And in tough times, it may get down to that. People in Australia roast the entire pumpkin and eat the outer shell. Well, we Americans, we're not used to doing that. But in fact, that's a very edible part and can be utilized. So we're just saying, hey, if you go to the time and trouble to grow it, we're going to show you how to properly utilize that whole plant, if at all possible.
And each plant has a different harvest date for harvesting to eat and harvesting for seeds, right?
That is correct. And for example, a cucumber, you're going to leave on the vine an extra 2 weeks so that the internal seeds are seasoned for next year's garden. So, but you're not going to eat a mushy yellow cucumber. That's just not, edible for us. But when you're seed saving, you're going to be curing the internal seeds. That's exactly correct. And again, the seed saving book, Seed to Seed by Suzanne Ashworth, the ultimate Bible on seed saving virtually, will explain all of that to you.
Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that do what I do. Springtime comes, you go down to Houston Garden Center and you buy some burpee packets, and that's how you're doing it. And that's not wrong, technically. But you have to do that every single year. With your seeds, I can plant out. Oh, look at that squash.
There
Just
you
did
go.
these.
Love it.
I can plant out squash. I can take some of that harvest and go, you're going to be my seeds for next year. And I don't touch them. I leave them on until my material here says, pick them now for the seeds.
That's right.
And don't I have to dry these in some special way?
Yes, and what pages does it tell you to do that? Probably 98 or to 100.
In
or
the
something.
gardening box, in Seed to Seed, it's page 97 through 117.
Right. So if you're growing squash, then you're going to come up to this chapter on the squash family, and you're going to know exactly how to do it, how to save it so you protect the genetics. That's very important because there's actually two categories of seeds. One is called open pollinated, and one is called a hybrid. Now, there's nothing wrong with a hybrid in a down economy. However, that's a problem because garden number 2 for a hybrid has 3 terrible results for sustainable people like ourselves. One is that 50% of it will be sterile like a mule. 25% generally is going to become a mutant. You plant a cucumber and you get a bird gourd, birdhouse that you make out of that gourd. That's not going to help your family. And then 25%, and tomatoes are famous for this, it reverts someplace up the genetic chain. You just don't know where it's going to land. It will not look like the cover of your seed packet. So a hybrid is an unpredictable, unstabilized seed. On the other hand, open pollinated is at least 8 years of the same picture on that seed packet over and over and over. It's dependable, and it doesn't have any of those 3 negative results that hybrids would have. If that seed type has been around at least 25 gardens, 25 generations, we can now call it an heirloom, meaning it's the most stable of the stabilized seeds. And that's what we're going to want so that we can get food without having to go to Lowe's, Home Depot, the feed store, whatever. And, there may be times coming that it's difficult, the gas is too expensive to go, supply chains, et cetera. It may be that food production is, squarely in our laps. And just like the pioneers that settled Texas and other places, if it was going to be, it was up to them. And so I see those days might be coming. But even if they don't, this is a great way to grow because you are going to save a ton of money. And so just think, the return on investment. You don't have to buy produce anymore. You don't have to buy seed packets at about $4 a seed packet on average anymore. And you don't have to buy, Bonnie's plants or, starts because you've got that skill in your toolkit and you're doing it yourself.
Now, these seeds are dried.
They are, correct.
Do I need something special to dry them?
No, you don't. There are techniques that are described in this book, and yes, professional seed growers and seed producers will have commercialized equipment, and they have a very precise way that they're doing it. But the techniques that are in this book, Seed to Seed, are tried and true and have been around for hundreds of years, and they'll work for all of our constituents and all of our families.
Now, you have 2 different seed banks here.
I do.
Why?
Because there's different size families that need to prepare. And so if it's just a couple, then, why overbuy? Or let's suppose you're a master gardener and you have a lot of skills and so forth, and so you're not particularly worried about is it going to work or not. You know that you can make it work. So you might be, and if you have a very good garden library, you don't need excess books. So the 2-person kit might be exactly what's called for. You still get the 75 varieties, and you get all those nutritional needs met, and so forth. But if you have a family of 4,
whoa.
yeah,
Talk about nutritional values.
absolutely. You don't buy you buy seeds with 2 criteria: how many people are coming to dinner, first and foremost. Because if you don't buy the right amount of seed, congratulations, you've got seed for 4, but you let 12 people into your little tribe that's been formed because of hard times. And if you don't have seed for 12, now congratulations, you all get to starve equally. That's not a good plan. So the very first question is, how many people am I going to let in, or I anticipate that I'm going to be needing to provide food for in tough times? And that would determine the size kit that you get. But with Texas Ready, it's not just a mismatch of all different, seeds that sound good, like, watermelon and, this, that, the other. We've got to make sure that you get niacin, that you get vitamin C, vitamin D, et cetera. Scurvy and rickets are not going to look good on our fellow citizens. So we want to make sure that, the whole gamut is covered. So we had both agronomists and nutritionists evaluate our selection of seeds, and I think you're going to find quite a comprehensive, list that's in each of these kits.
I did not know that even after I took your class. I did not know
there you
that. So now my brother Johnny, he's in Watertown, New York, upstate New York.
Okay.
And he's a farmer.
Right.
He comes from farmers. So each year he puts his pictures of his harvest out on the website. And I put my 2 tomatoes, and say I'm a farmer too. But he does, it sounds like he does what you've done. He takes a look at how much he needs to grow for how many people he's feeding, and the nutritional values of that, and also he does crop rotation too. Mm-hmm. I don't need to learn that because you've done that for me now with one of these kits.
We've got enough varieties so that that would not be an issue. And in the Mittleiter method, that's not an issue anyway, because there are 2 major styles of growth. One is I'm going to have pretty dirt. Everybody knows that the organic farmer falls squarely into that category. The keyhole garden, the square foot gardener, those are all that kind of method. The other method would be I'm going to feed the plant. And the Mittleiter garden method is I'm going to feed the plant. Now, we live in Texas. Think of San Antonio, the beginning of the desert. I can fix the dirt in San Antonio, but it will take me 7 years about to do that. I don't think anybody has that much tuna and beer saved up.
No.
Dehydrated, freeze-dried, canned goods, whatever. So I had to come up with a garden method that was going to initially work day one, and it had to be simple. And so that's why, and I taught 40 different methods of gardening at the Lone Star College. So, I was always looking for the Holy Grail. I just knew that, it wasn't what I was teaching. So when I came across this Mittleiter method, and I realized it was simple enough for children to do, and you didn't need to do all the gyrations of crop rotation because you were going to supply everything that plant needed, and it wasn't going to be deprived of nitrogen, which is the major reason that people do the crop rotation, which is complicated.
Did you bring the nutrition pack?
I did not, because as you know, I had a forest fire on my property last night, and we were up all night, and I dereliction of duty there, my friend.
You should have told me. I would have brought coffee for you.
Really?
We're going to talk about the Mittleiter system in a minute, but I want to make sure that I understand, because this is coming home with me, by the way.
Yes, it is, absolutely.
I told you that I have a greenhouse.
Beautiful.
And my plants are growing really good.
Nice.
But they're not fruiting the way that they should.
Temperature has something to do with that, and I don't know what vegetable in particular you're thinking of, but tomatoes after 85 degrees, they don't set that fruit.
One tomato.
One tomato.
I have 1 pepper.
Okay.
Green pepper. I have 1 yellow pepper. And I have 3 cucumbers.
Great.
That's it.
Okay.
Of all the plants. So my next attempt at this is going to be in the early fall when the temperatures drop below 80 degrees.
Right. You should have a stronger garden. The biggest garden in the Texas triumvirate of gardens would be that fall-winter garden. You will get the best yield. There's less insect problems. The cool weather means that we're happy to be outside ourselves. And the plants do thrive. And the whole cabbage family, kale, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, all those things, et cetera, will do very well in the winter. So you have a lot more choices to grow in the winter. So I believe you're going to have a great garden.
I hope so. I'm going to go through the seed vault bank there and go, all right, can I plant this for the fall? Yes or no?
There you go.
And they're going to plant out. You mentioned before that you've put together the seed banks for how many people that you're going to feed.
That's right.
If you plant for 2 people and you're trying to feed 4, that's not going to work out.
That's correct.
And, that's what we do at Douglasb. I have X number of acres, and that X number of acres can sustain X number of people. If you're not on the list...
Right. Move along, buddy.
Move along.
That's right. And I keep telling people that one of the best ways to make yourself extremely valuable so that you're the one chosen for the team, as we will probably form our own clans, tribes, groups and so forth, because the Lone Ranger is not going to make it, is to be a food producer, know how to do that skill. That will be the rocket scientists of the new economy. So that is a very worthwhile skill.
I was having this conversation a day or so ago about my half prepping. Why do I have so much tuna fish? Why do I have so much flour and rice and whatnot? Mm-hmm. What happens if the zombie apocalypse doesn't happen? And my answer to that is, I still can eat the food.
Exactly, right. And I've just hung around with some cool people and had a nice hobby that was, a benefit to other people. So there's no real downside to this new lifestyle. You're closer to the dirt, your immune system is being boosted all the time, the vitamin D is getting into you, it's enjoyable being outdoors, the kids have a wholesome activity, multi-generational, you help the neighbors across the street with extra squash and produce. There's no downside to this lifestyle.
Exactly. And it gives you something to do while you're preparing. You're also, you're out there and getting your steps in. So everybody knows I'm Mr. Fitbit. And yes, I overdid my steps the entire weekend. You mentioned pretty dirt. One of the things that I hear all the time is it's way too expensive to go get the dirt down at Lowe's or Home Depot's
Absolutely.
or whatnot.
It's $35 a linear foot on a standard 4-foot wide bed that's 8 inches deep. That is about $4,000 for the family of 4 to feed them adequately. I agree. And so therefore, the Mittlighter system is something that I think is a good option because sand and sawdust are the cheapest of materials, and that's what's recommended in the Texas area because that particular medium will keep the dirt temperature 5 degrees cooler. And remember, we said that temperature is the enemy for production in the summer.
Wait. You want me to fill my garden with sand and sawdust?
That's right.
That is so counterintuitive.
It is. That's right, because we've all been programmed to think that fixing the dirt, composting, turning the compost pile, going to the chiropractor the next day, etc., is the way to do it. When in fact, we all know about hydroponics, right? Mm-hmm. There's no dirt required. There's no composting required, etc. That is a delivery system of nutrition put in the water that holds the roots to the plant. So we don't need even dirt to get the job done. The problem with hydroponics is, of course, it does require an energy source in a down economy. That won't work too well. It does require input from Pony Express to send you the chemistry that goes in the hydroponic tubs. So that won't work in a down economy. You just couldn't possibly save all that you need. So we do dirt hydroponics, which is the Mittlighter Garden Course. We supply the nutrition that the plant needs through, let's back up. There are 17 required elements that are necessary for plant growth. And without one of those components, you have reduced your harvest to the least common denominator that's in proper sequence. So if you are real strong in NPK, nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, congratulations, I'm happy for you. But if you can't, give me the right ratio for manganese, you're not going to have seeds. You're not going to have produce. And so most people are gardening in the frustration quadrant because one or more of these essential 17 elements is missing in their garden. And they don't know what it is, and they don't know the math behind it. Well, we've taken all the math and chemistry off the table, and we supply, and by the way, these are shaved minerals. What could be more natural than that? Right? This isn't putting a lot of petroleum-based whatever that, again, that's a mythology. We are supplying the plant exactly what it needs in the proportion that it needs, when it needs it, and in the manner that the roots can uptake it properly. The dirty little secret is that plants do not receive organic material at all. They can't eat it. They can't assimilate it. They can't make it apply to, their growth patterns. They can only receive nutrition in inorganic form. And that's what the Mittlighter does from the day one. And another little problem with the organic gardening is that they do a lot of amendments or supplements or whatever. People think it's not, that organic is without chemicals. That's absolutely not true. They actually use more chemicals. That's a whole nother story. But what the Mittlighter does is it supplies a steady supply. It waters into the root zone. Again, that's the way that those roots can uptake nutrition. And those plants are thriving from day one because we don't have to go through gyrations of breaking down the organic materials into inorganic molecules. We supply it right what the plant needs day one. So that's why we're able to complete our harvests a lot quicker. And what does that do for us? Well, it helps against deer, it helps against pests, it helps against fungal disease and potential viruses. You just get the job done quicker. You have a stronger plant, which is naturally going to repel plant diseases. The pheromones within a healthy plant broadcast to different insects, stay away, I'm cool. And God sends insects to destroy the weak and infirm, nutritionally deficient plants.
Or just to aggravate the hell out of me.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
No insects are eating my tomato plants or my cucumbers yet. But my pepper plants and my eggplants, oh, yeah, they just love it. I had to go out and get some of that 7. Yeah. That's 7
There's
stuff.
some other things that we can do. 7 dust is quite systemic and does have some carcinogenic principles. So I would maybe start with some things that are a little bit less strong. I would start with diatomaceous earth, which is a naturally occurring diatom from the oceans. And it's sharp. It almost looks like a COVID molecule. And that will cut into any worms or any insects because they wear their skeletons on the outside, but they get a little dust inside and it's going to dehydrate them. That's sayonara to that insect. And DE is not a problem for humans. They have food-grade diatomaceous earth and so forth. And it's cheap.
Before we get into that,
Yeah.
I want to back up. I understood everything that you were saying, but I want to make sure that the guys out there know this. So the Mittlinger Method is a mythology of how to garden. It's a mythology of how to build a sustainable garden, and that's important, sustainability. If you're just growing petunias, more power to you. But if you're looking to grow food, that's why you're watching the show. The system calls for a mixture of sand and sawdust. Believe it or not, sand, and Lord knows we have a bunch of it, sand and sawdust, and you mix that together. Now you're thinking to yourself, the plant's never going to grow in that. This is why we use 3 things. Stop me when I get wrong. We're going to go get 1717. That's the nitrogen, potassium,
Phosphorus.
and phosphorus. And we're going to mix that in. And we're also going to get the nutrition packs that you guys have. Mm-hmm. That's all the trace minerals. And we're going to mix that in. And that's what we feed our plants.
You're going to add magnesium,
And
sulfate,
Epsom salt.
which is Epsom salt.
And Epsom
That's right.
salts.
It's neither a salt nor a whatever.
Yeah.
But that's easy to access, and we don't at Texas Ready. We don't want to have to do handling and that kind of stuff, since you can go down to Walmart and purchase that.
I
So
have to let you know, because I went out and looked for 1717.
it's tough to find.
It's tough to find.
Right, but I can tell you exactly where it is, because I've got arrangements with the managers of certain feed stores and so forth, and they buy it by the pallet to keep it in supply for the people
think I may
in
love you.
Montgomery. Yes, and 1616 is another very close thing that we would say would be workable, and that's apparently nationwide, except for Tractor Supply through the mail, 25 pounds at a crack and very expensive.
Yes, yes.
That would be.
They do have it. It was online looking for it. And I have to, I am really surprised, because there is a bunch of fertilizers out there for lawns. There's a bunch of fertilizers out there
Right.
with different numbers for different chemical makeups and whatnot. And this goes into, you have to know what you're growing in. If you're growing in the dirt in your backyard, you don't know what's in there. You have to take a sample, send it off to find out where you're starting from for a base. Using the Mellinger system,
You don't have to do that.
you don't have to do that.
No, because we're not counting on nutrition coming from whatever medium you're growing in. And by the way, you can do more than sand and sawdust. That just happens to be the best. But you could grow in crushed up pine needles, marbles, gravel, all kind of things. We just like the sand and sawdust. First of all, the sand never deteriorates. It's always going to be around. And sawdust is very inexpensive. And if you get the cedar sawdust, you now have a built-in insecticide in the garden bed. So that makes it, again, a bug-unfriendly environment.
As I mentioned, I'm growing in my greenhouse. And these things are going wild. They're just growing like there's no tomorrow. But they're not setting fruit. And I'm pretty sure it's because
It's temperature,
Like,
yeah.
102 degrees in there.
A little hot.
Little hot.
Yep. And you're supposed to be doing a full oxygen changeover every 24 hours in a greenhouse. So you want to make sure that ventilation and so
Yep.
forth is occurring.
I got all the vents
Fans
open.
and- yeah.
The doors on both sides. I'm getting enough wind through, so I haven't put a fan out there. But yes, I actually ordered a box fan to do that with. See, I do learn.
This is amazing. This
it's
is all
amazing.
good. Good student there, Doug.
The things that I learned just shocked me. I came away going, damn, if I had known this beforehand.
I would have saved a lot of money. Yeah, time and energy, frustration. Yeah, and that's what we're here for. The
Yeah,
other
I'm at the frustrated gardener point right now. because
$17 tomato, I know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that's why we also, I guess for lack of better, we could call it a hotline. Anybody that has a garden question that, wants to grow to sustain themselves, being a good-minded patriot that they are, we want to help them. And generally in about 5 minutes, I'm able to help folks. I've stood on the shoulders of, giants. I've read 300 ag books, et cetera. So I should be able to help you. I think that's the task. That's the goal. But we just don't peddle seeds, which a lot of my competition does, and they don't even know how to grow because I've talked to them. And that's sad. But we are living the same dream that we're encouraging other people. So, we're feeding our families this way.
Hey, Dick, can you pull up on one of the split screens the TexasReady.net contact page? So for our viewers at home, they can see the address and the contact phone number. Just have Fort Alarm Fire.
Yes, our ranch was July 4th will be one for the history books. We'll remember it. We don't know how the fire started, but I arrived home about 9 o'clock last night after a day of celebrating our country's independence, and saw 6 major fire trucks. And
I suspect a spark.
I suspect a spark, yes. So the wind was quite, heavy last night, and that's what we were told, but we just don't know. So there were no fires going, on the property, so, we didn't do it.
Are you still planning to do your July classes?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We've got a one in Dallas that's set up, and then we have 2 at the end of the month, and we would welcome any of your constituents to come on board. Do it rather quickly, though, because these classes do fill up really quick, and we've got 50 spaces.
And you're doing them over at Montgomery?
Montgomery Community Center, that's right.
All right, listen up. Go to texasready.net, and on that website, you're going to see their courses. And there's 2 courses towards the end of July. I would highly recommend that you take these courses if you are going to be trying to create a sustainable garden. I learned more than I thought I would learn. And now that I think that makes me more frustrated now that I know some stuff.
Well, pick up the phone and
It's
give
like,
us a holler. And
damn, I was doing this all wrong. My fall garden, I'm using this
Great.
system
Good.
because I don't have to go out now and buy dirt.
That's right. Absolutely.
Jimmy, my stepfather, was a farmer, and he told me, buy dirt. Yeah, you can't go wrong with buying dirt. That translated to me to buy land. I did not realize he was actually talking about buying dirt. I didn't know there was such a thing. But yes, dirt's very expensive, especially if you're buying that Miracle-Gro garden mix or whatnot and trying to do your garden with that. Even if you call one of the dirt companies and you find out how much it's going to cost you to buy this much dirt, you're going to go, what?
Yeah, for the average family of 4, it's going to be right around $3,500 to $4,500 to get those garden beds in. And I just think that's way too much, and it's not within reason for most of the people that we're trying to help. And when we teach this method overseas, of course, the whole village can't even afford one rake. So they can do it directly in whatever dirt is in their backyard if they don't want to do the box or raised bed system. So do it directly in the existing substrate that you have in your backyard. That's completely fine. The Mittlater book discusses how you would go about doing that. For my sensibilities, being very OCD, I like the order of the raised beds. But either way, you'll be able to certainly make it happen with the Mittlater book.
Now, in the book, it's going to show you everything that you need to know, or at least what I think everybody should need to know. And here's a guy that does a garden every year and has been doing it wrong every single year, not getting the yields that I think that I should get or that I see other people getting. Using this system, everybody has sand, everybody can get sawdust. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to make this elaborate raised bed like I do. I do that because I can't bend down. But you can do it right in the dirt.
Absolutely.
The system is still the same,
Right.
regardless what you're doing in it.
Right.
I took the irrigation from the book,
Okay.
and I went, well, since I've spending money to buy more stuff, I've used up my gardening supply so far.
Right.
That doesn't mean that the technique can't be done.
Well, that's right. When you're overseas, they're carrying, water from the river up and using a ladle to water their plants. So that's kind of primitive in our, way of life. But the ideal is to use the elevated PVC system that there's photographs and materials lists, and anybody that's a handyman can certainly figure this out. And the pressure from that 30-foot long bed, because they have very small holes, the pressure is pretty strong. So after you've top dressed the nutrition that your plant needs, each week we do that while we're in the growth period of that plant, then that that water pressure will drive it into the root zone every day. And at the end of 7 days, all the top dressing that you have given, the plant nutrition, to those plants, you'll have to do it over because it's gone. So that's why we call it the weekly feed. It takes 7 days to drive it completely underground into the roots. The plants are getting a small dose of everything that they need, the trace elements, all 17 of those elements every day. And that's how we are able to achieve the amazing yields in a very short period of time.
I currently am doing a hybrid watering system. I would put in a drip system. Got 2 minutes? Okay. I put in a drip system, and then I'm supplementing with my watering can. And the reason I'm doing this is twofold. It's so hot, the evaporation is just unreal. When I put my finger down into the dirt, it's dry. So that's not the way it's supposed to be. So I have a drip system going, and I'm using the watering can because it gives me something to do after dinner, that I don't just go lay on the couch. I'm up and I'm watering, going back and forth my watering can, and I like it.
And you're getting more
Somebody else
steps in.
I'm
It's a
getting
great
more
day,
steps in.
right?
That's right. It's a good day. All right, we only have 2 more minutes here, so we have to close up and do our parting song here. But before I go, I want to stress again: contact TexasReady.net. And I'm going to give you their phone number. If you're prepared to write this down, it is 832-493-1357. And the email is seeds@texasready.net. Y'all should go over there and take the course. Dawn, book 1. Book 2. Yeah, you need both of these. This comes with the course, by the way, and this is like only $20. Lucinda, thank you so much, and I am disheartened to hear about the fire. I'm not surprised, but that just totally sucks. So y'all out there with me, let's say a special prayer. I can't speak, I'm too dry, excuse me. Let's say a special prayer for Lucinda and Texas Net, that they come through this fire unscathed. So that about wraps up our show. I do want to thank our sponsor, EMW Productions, who pays me while I'm talking to y'all. So thank you very much. They are experts in helping veterans start and fund their business for almost or over 30 years. And I want to thank bitterglitter.us, promotional products for the discerning veteran. Next month, August, the show, we're going to try to get that in, and we're trying to get General McNabb in to talk to us about Lone Survivor. And we'll talk some more about what's happening in America. And as always, until next month, stay safe and stay vigilant.
sound of an enemy shore. Wade through the blood spilled on the floor, and if another one stands, I'll kill some more. Bullet in the breach and a fire in me, like a cigarette thrown to gasoline. If death don't bring you fear, I swear you'll fear these marching feet. Come to the nightmare, come to me, deep down in the dark where the devil be. In the mall where the jaws and the razor teeth, where the brimstone burns and the angel weeps. Crawl to the gods of across your path, and my silhouette hangs like a body bag. Hope is a moment now long past, the shadow of death is the one I cast. I am a soldier and I'm marching on. I am a warrior and this is my song. My eyes are steel and my gaze is long. I am a warrior and this is my song.
We're not just going to shoot the bastard. We're going to cut out their living guts and use them to grease the treads of our tanks. We're going to murder